We have to figure out how we get him on his back. It would look great if he crawls first, then when they are in their not so close positions, he could be on his knees. And cut! Very good.
When you approach a movie like this, you want to make the best movie, in this case trilogy, in the world. You can't leave a single stone unturned during your journey. As a filmmaker, if you're serious, you have to care about everything, and you want the best cameraman and the team that is going to support you. This is a chance of a lifetime to tell a complex psychological story and do something special. So it's reflected in every choice of the color of the sets, every choice of camera and lighting.
We wanted to give audience members really highly elevated horror. You know, not campy horror, but really smart, really raw, really grounded in truth. And Rennie, working closely with his DP, they really created the color palette, the feel, the lighting, the mood, and the eeriness.
They told me that the movie was going to be directed by Ronnie Harlin, and that got my attention as Ronnie and I discussed the 2008 movie Strangers, and we agreed that, okay, the first movie is great, but this is something else. This is not a slasher. This is not a gore film. This is suspense.
It's supposed to be, you know, very much on the realm of reality. And to everybody that came on, Rennie, everybody on the crew, from moment number one, I always said, we're never going to cross that line of reality so that the fantasy is broken for the audience. We must always stay there.
The movie starts very normal and feeling very safe, and the grass is green and the clothes look normal. It looks like just normal life. And then in the course of the first movie, the colors start changing. In a subtle way, we want the audience to feel through the color and light how everything just starts tightening and tightening and tightening through this kind of dark tunnel until we are just installing this feeling of dread and growing paranoia. This is something that we put a lot of thinking and a lot of time into in creating the color palette and the certain darkness and brightness of scenes.
You've got the camera enhancing the moment and, you know, making you feel something.
What I try to do in the movie is, through the type of shots that I chose and the lighting and creating an atmosphere where that paranoia would be there all the time.
What happened?
There's someone standing right there. You're wearing a mask.
The horror really lies in that feeling of the gradual progression of that paranoia and having that end up being backed up by reality. And I think that's part of the big appeal of these movies.
Ah, civilization. Venus, Oregon. I bet the people who live here are really happy.
In creating the town of Venus, everything has to feel super authentic, super real. And I think that adds also to the eeriness of it.
This was built. This is a crazy thing to have built.
We wanted this raw feel from the very beginning, so we tried to make the diner as gritty as possible. The diner is actually a practical location, which we found in North Bratislava, and it was much more polished and sleek, if you want. We just built the exterior. We tried to make it like this is not the nicest diner where you can stop and have something to eat. Adi Kuralea, the production designer, he did a great job in using textures and all the Americana imaginary that we already know. So I think that was a very detailed work from his part.
It looks cute. Think it has electricity?
Probably not.
Most of the story happens in this house. It's not a haunted house by any means, but at the same time, it's almost like a living and breathing organism.
It took us a while to find the right exterior for the house because we were trying to find like a good location and then build the house there, but we couldn't find the location near Bratislava to have enough character, and it wasn't worth it to build a house in those forests. So we found this house and that we really like. It didn't have the scale that we wanted, but it was a very mysterious location. Since the exterior of the house was smaller and you only see it mainly at night, we decided to make a two-story house and make it bigger on the interior of the set in an abandoned warehouse outside Bratislava, because we knew that we were going to spend like a decent amount of time in that house for movie one. We wanted to have a big living room because the main action takes place there, especially the ending of movie 1, which I think Adi, the production designer, he did a great job.
The art department has created these sets that feel very real, balancing the feeling of like you're in your home, this place that's supposed to feel comfortable, with like the plethora of dead animals hung up on the wall and the skeletons and just like a slightly off feeling.
This house has a raised foundation. What? Crawl space.
I remember one scene that the actors, Maya and Ryan, they are crawling on this crawling space and underneath the house. That was a very, very tough sequence, especially for the actors, because literally they have like less than 4 feet from the ground. So we needed to go very real on that scene. And then we have a crane shot and we boom up and then we find the pinup girl. So we needed to tie both the basement and the house at the same time, and we built a specific part of the set just because of that shot. So we connect our protagonists with the bad guys.
The surrounding forest where they ultimately escape becomes this very hostile and scary environment. We don't need the audience to jump out of their seats and go like, oh my God, what a spooky forest. But psychologically, we hope that we are experiencing a very scary, very bleak and threatening world that Maya is going through.
This nightmare feel of the forest is very important. It's another character in this movie. And I felt that we needed to have a bigger scope, more cinematic in a way. Rennie and I agreed about the aspect ratio, about shooting with anamorphic lenses, all those things that can give you the more cinematic patina to it. And from my perspective, when you shoot with anamorphic lenses like I did, suddenly you are telling the audience, okay, this is something different.
Ryan, go now!
The first Strangers, it's more about the couple, but as the movie progresses, this is Maya's journey, and the camera follows her all the time during the movie.
One of the sort of leading principles for me was that it is seen through Maya's, our main protagonist's, eyes. Even her relationship with her fiancé, her experience of this town, her experience of the horror, the terror. I try to create a feeling where the audience is her all the time, and that affects how you shoot the scenes. For me, a lot of the language had to do with extreme close-ups of her eyes and really sort of going inside her head and her experience and how it feels to be her. I hope that that will come through for the audience, and when they sit in the theater, they would feel like they are her.
They live together, the actors and the camera, but there's so many things that you don't even think about that create that.
We wanted to live more in the shot, not so many cuts. Then you are in Maya's face and you don't know what's going on, because again, this is Maya's journey and working with Mats. I usually set the 3 cameras before she comes to set, but I always leave a certain margin of freedom for her to provide something else, and I think with Rennie we agreed that we needed to have that because it's her movie. She was my guide in terms of, okay, let's see what she does, and then let's place the cameras.
And then I don't even know if he, like, I mean, maybe when she makes it, he can come towards me, but I always imagined having that hand up here for this like cool shot of the nail coming out and me kind of like crying and like, yeah.
Movie 1, you are discovering the strangers little by little, and it's a progression. At the beginning, you don't see them at all. We were playing with reflections in the mirrors and shadows, and then suddenly you see pieces of them. You have to dig in the image just to know more, and sometimes you have like a long shot and the bad guy's in the mirror and you don't notice it at the very beginning, but he's there. Or you have a establisher of the house, but Dollface, it's in one of the windows as a silhouette. So all these things add a lot of suspense to the movie. And then at the end of the movie 1, they are fully exposed. The best call was using the real actors for the strangers, you know, because sometimes when you have a guy with a mask, okay, let's do this with a double and that's it. No, it doesn't work like that. The physicality of it, even if they are in a mask, you know that is them, you can feel that. And that's also more scary.
Where's Maya?
We wanted this movie to be more suspenseful. We wanted this raw feel and suffer with the actors, and I think once you see the movie, everything fits.
They're really creating such beautiful images. The actors are giving incredible performances, and so I truly believe that it's going to take hold of a whole new audience.